Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Dunnell. I'm a PhD student here at the MIT Media Lab. I'm in the viral communications research group here. And as I'll be talking about in my talk today, my research focuses on reimagining the user experience behind your file system using AI. A fun fact about myself, I've surfed on every continent except for Antarctica, but I hope to one day. Oh, thank you. OK, thank you. Yeah, so as I mentioned, that my research is focused around reimagining the user experience behind the file system that you're all familiar with on your computer, using generative AI to support in that process. What I'm going to talk about today is a proof of concept tool that we've built in the process of achieving this goal, which is called Latent Lab. So I'll be talking about some of the features and some of the pilot studies that we're running with that right now. So who here is familiar with this user interface? Like, have you seen this before? So yeah, a lot of people have seen this. And LLMs have provided us a ton in terms of being able to access and generate text in a chat-based interface. However, I'm not convinced that this is where it stops. I think we have yet to see the iPhone interface moment of LLMs. And the question I've been asking is, can we expand this interface to visually explore idea spaces and inspire new ideas? And so Brett Victor, who is an independent researcher, he was an early designer at Apple, and he's a very big inspiration of mine. He gave a talk here at the Media Lab down on the third floor atrium about 10 years ago. And he and Jerome Bruner, who is an educational psychologist, pointed out how higher channels of thinking are required, sort of beyond symbolic thinking. Things like visual and interactive channels are required for thinking the unthinkable. And so, for example, Watson and Crick were able to conceptualize the helix, the double helix structure of DNA, not because of in their chemistry lab, but because they went downstairs and started playing with metal toys in the metal shop and had a physical model to understand the double helix structure. And this was unheard of at the time in chemistry. And so similarly, the tool that we're building, Latent Lab, we aim to upgrade the user's channels of thinking. So we've built an automated pipeline that can take large unstructured data sets and then convert them to semantically organized data sets that surface topics and subtopics. And so in the case of the Media Lab data set, like we're showing here, we started with ourselves. Oops. So in the case of the Media Lab research, which you can see over here on the left, we're taking data from the website, all of the project descriptions for each of the projects at the Media Lab. We're passing it to a large language model, extracting embeddings, which are numerical representations of the text that are being passed in, and topics associated with each one of these projects. We're then compressing all of that information into an interactive visualization that you can see over here on the right. And so the colors in this map showcase the different research groups here in the Media Lab. So you can see how intermingled they are, and it really shows how interdisciplinary we are here at the lab. And so once you have data in this format, we can actually do a few different interesting things. So the first of which, we can sort of go from this high topology view of the entire data landscape of an organization down to the individual documents that make up this entire space through progressive disclosure. Additionally, we can see the evolution of this data set over time. We can see how these peaks and valleys of the data in this organization shift. These peaks of research are areas where we've spent a lot of time building a body of knowledge. These valleys that we see where there's a lot less information are areas that have yet to be explored. And finally, we can do search and synthesis within this tool. So you can't really see it here, but in the top right, a user is searching makeup that can detect emotion. And this is like a Media Lab sounding project, but it doesn't actually exist. When we search that, we're taken to a portion of the graph of semantically similar projects that do actually exist in the Media Lab. Users are able to explore the white space between these existing projects by building a recipe, selecting existing projects, asking the system to focus on certain aspects of these projects, like the problem statement, technology behind the project, or the community involved, and use it to synthesize a new idea. So you're getting an output over here of a title, an image, a project description, and then the prompting used to generate this research project. Now, this is not going to be a paper-ready project that is output at you. It's going to be far from that. But it serves as sort of a starting point for further iteration in this human-AI collaboration. And so we've gone beyond just doing this with our own data, and we've uploaded things like patents, we've uploaded research papers from different departments around the university, we've partnered with several organizations that are member companies of the Media Lab, and we've ingested their own organizational data to get these same maps with the same functionality, proving that it does function as a tool beyond our own data set. And then finally, lately, we've been really interested in this idea of, can we use this tool for predictive capabilities? Could we identify areas where there's likely going to be innovation that occurs in a certain area, and we should be focusing resources there? And that got us thinking that we need to take into account externalities, things outside of the existing data set that we're focused on. And what you're seeing here is the same Media Lab research is now red, and in the blue, we've pulled in all of the publicly facing research that's happening at Microsoft. And so we can identify where the similarities between these two institutions are occurring and where the specialization between the two institutions are. And additionally, I've pulled in a third data set. This is the E14 portfolio, all of the companies in the portfolio, the venture fund here at the Media Lab. And this is of particular interest with one of our pilot companies that we're working with, who is Dell, who is very interested in sort of mapping the technology lifecycle of when an idea turns into a body of research, when that body of research then becomes a set of patents, when those patents may become a company, and then even in some cases become a utility. They found it extremely valuable if they can identify when those transitions are occurring, because there's typically friction between each one of those transitions, and being able to predict that and intervene would be hugely valuable for them. And so in a recent study we've conducted, we found that our tool was significantly helpful in insight extraction and mental support during the exploration process compared to traditional list-based search tools. And as I mentioned, a couple of our pilot sponsors, currently at BP and Dell, we have instances of Latent Lab running internally in these organizations. We're working closely with Comcast and Deloitte to do the same, as well as several other partners, actually. And the goal here is to get this working internally and identify use cases that offer these companies the most value in these large organizations. Finally, I just want to close by saying Latent Lab is completely public, and so there's a public instance of it running at latentlab.ai. Feel free to play with it. We'd love to get your feedback. You can upload data of your own, explore it, and the goal is that this is a stepping stone to get to what I had mentioned at the beginning, which is visualizing your file system both locally in the cloud, the data that you own, in a new, immersive, visually enticing way. Thank you so much for your time.